What's up, guys? Luke here from Spotlight on Spurs, and today we've got something a little different. We're going to be doing a little mini series called My Spurs Preview, bringing on a different guest each time, asking them 10 questions from how we felt last year went, potential transfers, what we need, that sort of thing. First up, we have Chris joining us. How you doing, mate?
All good, mate. All good.
Thanks for being the guinea pig of the series. As I said, it'll be a different guest each time, asking everybody exactly the same questions. Obviously, when we start discussing transfers, it may be that today's guest is talking about a different set of transfers to who the next person is. So at this current stage, we have Kudos, who has come through the door. Takai has come through the door. Morgan Gibbs-White is currently still at Forest. Whether that's going to go ahead, we don't know. But that's up to that. We'll just see how it goes. As I say, the next guest it might be slightly differently. So let's start things off, Chris. A little bit easy this one, I think. What was your thoughts on last season, and then obviously moving into the summer?
Yeah, last season was a bit of a weird one because you win a cup and you should be really happy, and then you look at the league form and you go, "Oh, it's not really that good." I think performance-wise, it just wasn't good enough. There wasn't really many games where I actually watched the Spurs game and went, "I really enjoyed that. It was really good." Even if we won or we lost, I was buzzing. So I think league form wasn't the best, and it probably towards the end it made me not want to watch. Although I still did, I put myself through the pain. You just knew what was going to happen, and then obviously going on a mad European Cup run and winning that and bringing that home was one of the best feelings I've had as a Spurs fan, I think. So it definitely was a crazy season for a Spurs fan, but yeah, good. Lots of positives, but also a lot of negatives to take away as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely mad. It's literally the one game at the end of the season defines everything. So is it the
Yeah,
worst season you've ever seen, or potentially one of the best you've ever seen, all based off of one 90-minute match? Is just absolutely crazy. Having said that, at the start of the season, if someone said you'd be a European champion, you'd have finished anywhere. I would have took it as long as we weren't
yeah,
relegated personally. But it's easy to say when you're in the moment, watching week in, week out, and things are same mistakes, issues, problems, losing games. Very, very difficult. So I think most fans will be in agreement with you on that. Frustrating season, absolutely brilliant end, but we need to be a little bit or a lot more consistent this year.
yeah,
Moving on
definitely.
to question two, your thoughts around the Thomas Frank appointment. And you can go into as much detail or not as possible. Happy, yes. Do you want to go into a bit more? It's up to you.
When it was announced, obviously it was always that was the one that was we always knew there was going to be the high likelihood that we were going to get Frank. It didn't light my world on fire. I wasn't sitting there thinking this is brilliant. We've got an amazing manager. But then when I actually thought about who else we could have got, there wasn't no one else that I was sitting there thinking I'd be happier if someone else if that person would have come in. Um, Obviously there's a lot of ifs and buts with Frank because he's never really done more than the necessary at Brentford. I don't think he's always sort of overachieved maybe at Brentford.
Mhm.
Worked with the tight budgets. I think he managed in. I'm not sure if it was the Champions League with a team in Denmark. If that's right.
No, I think it was the preliminary rounds of
Right.
either the Champions League or
So
European Cup or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
So I know he's not got the sort of the top end of experience when it comes to European football, but um, he can't get any worse than last season. For me, um, that's how I feel. I think for us right now, it's probably what we needed. Probably steady the ship. Maybe get some of the fans back on sort of on board with the way that it's going. But for me, I don't think the club will change much, and it doesn't matter what manager comes in. I think there needs to be changes at the top, and hopefully we're seeing that with with more and more every day that we see. I mean, we can always get linked with 2,000 players every season, but it's when you actually get them signed and pinned down, that's where it matters to the fans and how we progress forward. So, yeah, good, but for me, not an amazing signing.
Yeah, I think you've summed that up quite good, really, in terms of the elite of the elite managers. He's not obviously in that bracket
Yeah,
at all. He is a level below. Potential to go up, because what he done at Brentford was incredible. But it's always like, is we say about players all the time. If a player was at Brentford and they'd had a really good season,
yeah,
you then say, oh, he's going Spurs. You go, yeah, is he able to take that step up? Is it? And Frank's
yeah,
exactly the same. Is he able to cope with playing the Premier League, the Champions League, and he's got cup games? Where at Brentford, pretty much every week would have been a whole week to prepare. You have more time on a training ground, that sort of stuff. So no, completely echo your thoughts there. So obviously we spoke a little bit about what happened previously last year, moving into Frank's appointment. What do you think Frank brings to Spurs? It seemed like he was kind of a little more stability wise was one of the
yeah.
things. Is there anything else that you think he will bring?
No, I mean we spoke about it before. I think with Frank, the style of play I think will suit us. The tactics side of things is probably for me a bit more cautious, because we don't know how he's really going to play. We don't know if he's going to have one formation or two formation, three formation. It could be anything. But I definitely think what he will bring is a good coaching staff with him as well, not just himself being a good technical coach. I think the staff he's brought in with him will be good for the club. We've obviously got quite a lot of young players in the first team, and I think they'll benefit a lot from having him. And I think that, I think this coaching in general, I'm hoping that he seems like a manager that's involved all the time. He's on the training pitch. He's there. He's implementing his thoughts. His team around him seem to be very included with every decision that's made as well. And it's a team effort for him. He's never had any bad rap, as in he's never really mistreated players wrong. He's always seems to have got that right. We don't seem to have too many big sort of egos in the club, I wouldn't imagine. You might have the odd one or two here or there, but nothing that sort of stands out, or how would he treat him and how would he manage that player. I think everyone will be all right with him, and it seems like he's come in and done really well so far. So stability, coaching, and the technical aspects, I'm hoping will play the way that we want to play.
Yeah, the fact that Ange never brought in any coaching staff from previous jobs and previous places is a very strange one. And I don't think we've actually brought in as many coaches with other previous managers. So there was conversations with Conte and Mourinho. I think they got some players in, some coaching staff in, but it looks like Frank's essentially had an overhaul and picked and choose exactly who he wants, which I think is brilliant. So, but yeah, you would expect this season to kind of be a little bit more consistent, I guess, in terms of stability, consistency. You should know exactly what you're going to see. And with Ange, some people will say we knew what we was going to see and it weren't going to be very good. And hopefully Frank will bring in the more positive side of things. So they're what you think he will bring to Spurs. And then the next one up is, do you have any concerns around Spurs at this moment in time? Now, you can take concerns as you want. You could, for instance, talk about the Morgan Gibbs-White situation. You could say transfer targets. You could say Frank's not good enough. Whatever it is there any concerns that you currently have sitting here today as a Spurs fan? What sort of concerns do you have?
Transfer side, I think because there seems to be an unofficial announcement that we've got a load of investment. I think I see this morning that we've announced we've got a 20-year deal on the stadium naming rights. I don't know if I've not read into it. I just see it flash up on my phone, and I didn't get a chance to read into it. So concern would be that if we are getting this investment and the money coming in, anyone we go for, there might be another couple of quid being chucked onto prices, which is not good, because then I feel like the bigger the price tag on a player, the more pressure that comes with it, especially at a younger age as well, because if you're spending 50, 60, 70 million pound on players at 20, 21, 22, there seems to be that they always seem to be getting compared to someone else that cost the same money and how well they done, whether it was 2 or 3 years ago or whether it was this season. Maybe another concern is the tactics, and it's not. I think Frank coming from a Brentford team that they didn't always dictate the game. They didn't always control the game. It was more them just trying to find pockets and trying to do things based around how the other team played. I hope that we don't start playing that way in our team as well, where we're sort of playing as the underdog sort of thing, if that makes sense. I want us to be we've got quality in this team. We should be the ones that are dictating the play. We're playing the way we play. We shouldn't be focusing too much on how to sort of. I mean, you've obviously got your big team that you're going to come up against, and even in the Champions League, if you're playing against the big teams away from home, you'll need to obviously adjust how you set up to try and stop them from sort of playing. But I hope we have different tactics for different types of games and maybe different scenarios within the game itself and how that changes. But I'm just hoping that we don't. One game we see one way of playing, the next game it completely changes, and then the next game it completely changes again, and then everyone's like, "Well, hang on a minute, it worked. The first game we played, it worked. This game it didn't work. Why are we not just going back?" And it's quite easy for fans to then watch a game where we play really well and we dominate, and then we play the next game where we don't dominate, we play completely different, and it's why didn't that player start and why didn't he do this and why didn't he do that? So it'd be quite interesting to see how that setup is.
Yeah, I've been saying as well since Frank was mentioned, it was seriously linked. That I think that at the moment, a lot of fans are saying that Ange only had one way of playing, so they crave a different style and different styles. However, Frank could almost be too flexible in terms of, as you've just said, every game there being some sort of adaptation to the opponent. And I always use the term like Wolves, for instance. If we play Wolves and we're changing our formation to try and dictate against them, I think fans eventually start going, well, hang on a minute, we're Tottenham. We shouldn't be, okay, yeah, your Real Madrids and your Liverpools and everything else, you have to have a different set of tactics and a way of playing against them, of course. But when we go into the teams that are lower down the table, we shouldn't be adapting to them. They should just be simply adapting to us and trying to counteract us, not the other way around. And obviously at Brentford as well, there was a very rarely did Brentford play against like a low block sort of team where the expectation will be that most teams that come up against Spurs, that will be the case. So it'd be interesting to see how he facilitates that. I think he's a very clever manager. So I'm not saying he's going to have major problems with this, but it might take him a little while because he'll always have been coming up against different tactics. Whereas this time he's actually going to be coming up with, we'll have to come up with something else that will break the kind of mold that he's used to. So no, I completely agree with you on that. And again, necessarily, I initially said that these were concerns and these were negatives to Frank, but actually they're more like unknowns, aren't they? We don't know how he's going to do because he's never been in this situation.
And it's the same as the transfers as well. I mean, we've got Kudus in and we're being linked with loads of players, which is all good. But if we don't get him in early as well and then give him the time to say, this is how I want to play, this is my philosophy, this is how we're going to do it tactically, defensively, attack, whatever it's going to be, we risk that we wait too late to sign players with a new manager and then they're playing catch up almost, or they've not fit in straight away. They've not had the preseason that all the other boys have had. And probably one other concern I've got is that I hope that last season's performances, that's not. I think every player in the Spurs squad is better than how they played last season. There's no doubt about that. So I'm just hoping that they don't just sit and go, well, no, last year was where he was. I'm hoping that every player, and they should be, otherwise they need to be gone. It should be a case of we all contributed to last season. Obviously, the manager has his part, but the players need to turn around and take a bit of responsibility for that and say, last season was just, yes, we won the trophy and that was all brilliant, but our performances on the pitch wasn't great. And we all know that we've got a level or two above that and we all need to be stepping up for that as well. So I'm hoping that people, that mindset quickly changes. It's a case of basically forget last season. That last season was, yes, you won the trophy and that's how you're going to foresee it. But at the same time, this is where we need to be. We don't want to be a 17th place team. We want to be a top 4 challenging for that sort of that other end of the table. So step up, basically, show everyone that you can do it.
Moving on, slightly, you've kind of gone into it a little bit there. Who do you think out of this squad kind of needs to go? There's been quite a lot of rumours recently. You've got Son, Richie, Basuma, several others.
Yeah.
Are there any kind of like we don't need to go into your young sort of players in like Yangs and things like that, but any of the kind of like first team experience pros where you think actually they need to kind of shift on? Or is it just pretty much the same as what everyone's sort of saying at this moment in time?
Yeah, I think Richarlison, although he does have some qualities, I don't know if it's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
I think Basuma had towards the end of the season last year he stepped up a little bit, but for me, I still think I don't know if there's an issue there. Obviously, during the season he had a few off the pitch issues as well. There was the
Mental health
video,
issues.
the Snapchat stuff with the laughing gas and all that sort of thing.
Oh,
So
Basuma, sorry, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, for me, my three that I thought of was Dragustin. I just for whatever reason, I just don't think he's good enough for me. He's not the player we need. But again, it might be just because last season everyone was just not at it, and it was just one of them things.
Yeah.
Basuma, Richarlison for me needs to go. And then yeah, a lot of the players that have come back in off loan, your Brian Gills and that, I don't foresee it. I mean, Gill's been there for what 3 or 4 seasons now, and he's played about
Feels like a long time.
4 or 5 games for us, like actual play games, not just come off the
Mm.
bench. So for me, it's quite clear it's not going to work, and it's time to move that on. It frees
Yeah.
up money, and it also frees up the wages as well to bring in some new players.
And I think we discussed this on last week's live stream. But what are your feelings and thoughts around Heung-min Son? Is that a player that you would sell, or where are your feelings lie with him?
Yeah, it's quite clear that he is declining. It sounds like the club are going to just let him make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got 1 year left on his contract. Is it one?
Yeah.
1 year?
Yeah, end of
Yeah.
this season, he'll be a free agent.
I think I've said it before. If the right price comes in for Spurs to take it, then I think we take it. He leaves on a high. Leaves as captain who won a trophy, lifted a trophy for Spurs. He done what he wanted to do. He's won something with Spurs. But then he might turn around and just say, look, I feel like I've still got more to offer, and I'm willing to prove it to you. And I've got 1 year left. Again, whether Levy allows that, and I think it all depends on if there's serious cash money flowing around for him, and there's a serious bid that comes in. I think it will be a case of he will go. Me personally, I think it's the best time for him to go now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So obviously that's the outgoings there discussed. Obviously, as I said, this is kind of caveated on the basis that we don't currently have Gibbs White that's come in. Obviously, there was Takai that came in earlier on. I know Vuskovic was a pre-planned transfer, but he's obviously come into the fold and is part of the squad now. So that's part of it as well. Kudos has obviously been a fairly big money signing in terms of over 50 million from West Ham, and then the Gibbs White we seem to believe was going through and was done. Now, your answer might have changed if Gibbs White was over the line and not now. But are you happy with the business so far? There seems to be a load of rumours, as you've already gone into. So we don't necessarily know, other than Gibbs White, we don't necessarily know the exact people that we do want to come in. But are you happy with the business that we've done so far? Do you think we still need a few more?
Yeah, I think business so far, I'm happy. Kudos is a good player, Premier League proven, brings something that we've been screaming out for at Spurs for ages, which is someone that's wants to get on the ball. He wants to take people on. He can take people on, which is good. He's got the pace and the skill to do it. The only thing I'd probably say I'm not happy with is I think we've jumped the gun on Tell. I don't think Tell's a good signing for us. There was glimpses that he's got the willingness and he's trying to do something, but I don't think I just don't feel like he's a good fit for us. I think the 30 million, if it is 30 million, I think I see that we signed him for. I feel like that could have been spent better elsewhere. But then if we've got the money in, we might see it as, again, it's an investment. If he does come good in 2 years, then we've signed a good player that's going to come good in 2 years, and we've still got, I think he's 20 or 21.
No, I think 19. It might be 20 now, but yeah, we signed him when he was 19. So
yeah,
he will be 20
so even
now.
then, if he's 19 in 2 years' time, he's still 21. He's still got loads of room to grow and improve. So, yeah, I think if you were to ask me maybe in 4 weeks' time the same question, we might be on a different story. But I don't mind being linked with all the players if they're realistic players and they're players that Spurs are genuinely going for, and it's an actual target and not just something where they're trying to sell a few extra season tickets, or we're not just trying to get everyone on board to then go, oh, we're going to go and sign a Rafael Leao for talking sake. Like, if there is any truth into rumours like that, and we're genuinely going in for contact with these teams, then I'm all for it. Bring it on, because you're only going to improve the first team, which we should always be doing.
Yeah, completely agree. And then obviously, again, who should you bring in? Do you have a number one target? Now, again, with Morgan Gibbs-White, you can include that. You can include him in this. You could disregard him completely if you think, for instance, he's definitely going to get over the line. Whatever. This is you as Don Paratigi. Who would you like to bring in? And as I said, your number one target.
It's a tough one, number one target, because there's quite a few areas I'd like to see improved. But I think if Xavi Simons, Jack Grealish, if these players are genuinely available, again, they would be the ones I'd be going for. It's quite clear that although we've got depth in the wide areas, whether we've got the quality, it's all right having 3 or 4 players in each position. But you got Mikey Moore that might only get 20 minutes here and there. You've got Odebert again, who might only get 20 minutes here and there. You've got Brennan Johnson, who is, well, there's still a lot to say about him, whether he's actually good enough to play or not for Spurs. So there's a lot of ifs and buts about a lot of the players that we've got. So if a Jack Grealish was to come in, or a Xavi Simons for the wide areas, I think it just boosts where we need the attacking side of things would be good.
Yeah, completely agreed. So this one is more around the current sort of players that we have. Obviously, we've just had the friendly at Reading on the weekend. Vuskovic got a lot of the headlines. Expectation is that he stays in and around the squad. You've obviously got Bergvall. You obviously have Archie Gray. You could even include players like Tell in this. Is there a one player? Could you go youth players? Like, for instance, you may think that Donnelly's going to be part of the squad. What's the one player that you think this season could end up being his real breakout season? I think Bergvall had a few good months, didn't he? But I think if he consistently hits that level again this year, for me, that would be a breakout sort of year. So, who's the one player that you think we should be keeping an eye on? Or you might have other ones. There might be other ones.
Yeah, there is a couple. For me, I think it'll be interesting to see how Bergvall steps up to the next level and then carries on if we sign a centre midfielder as either the holding role or just if it's going to be a free in midfield, if it's going to be a Gibbs-White. I know there's talks about like a Paulinho or someone of that sort of standard, that sort of technicality coming in. Having someone like Bergvall who then maybe gets the freedom to then just roam and go up and come back because he's got the stability behind him. Someone like that would be interesting to see. Archie Gray's an interesting one because Thomas Frank obviously wanted Gray when he was at Brentford.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see if Archie Gray plays in that, if he is either the backup or if he plays in the central midfield. So obviously last season he was right back, left back, centre mid. He was everywhere apart from in goal, I think, at some point. So it'll be interesting. But the one player I looked at, and I remember we spoke about it a few weeks ago now, and we just passed on it in the live streams. If Manor Solomon can get some game time, how he played last season, and I know it's the Championship, and I know it's obviously different levels in the Championship. Part of me just thinks there's a player in there But again, if we're going to go and sign a Xavi Simons, we've signed Kudus, we've got Tell. If Son stays, I don't know how much game time he actually gets and whether he just gets moved on so we make a bit of profit on him. But for me, it would be interesting to see how he matched up in the Premier League, because when we see glimpses of him when he first signed, he didn't look bad. Last season for Leeds, he was really good. So that for me would be my number one, who I would like to see, and I'd like to hope that he could come in and challenge for minutes and challenge for a space in the team.
Yeah, now this one, moving on to the next point, this one's quite a difficult one, and it may kind of be linked to what you've just said. But do you have a hot take for season 25-26? Obviously, is it Mano Solomon is going to be our starting left winger by the end of the season, or do you expect Mikey Moore to be the starter? Whatever it is, do you have a hot take that probably goes against what is the kind of expectation or what is the thoughts of the Spurs fan base this season?
It's a tough one. A hot take.
Your hot take could be that we finish 15th. It could be anything that's kind of out there that's a bit different. Obviously, if we can keep it positive, let's try and keep it positive.
No,
Are we going to
definitely
win
be
the Champions
positive.
League, for instance? Is that your hot take? But remember, you'll be on YouTube with this, so you need to make sure it's not absolutely crazy.
Nah, I don't mind all the backlash if it does come. My hot take for the season, I don't know, Spurs getting top 4. I know I've said previously that I expect us to finish sort of 9th, 8th or above, around that area. It's a progressive season. We're obviously just trying to get it going. We're trying to bring players in. But
yeah, if you
got
like a Morgan Gibbs White, if you go and get him over the line, you've already got Kudos. There's been links with Walton, obviously Paulinia too. So if we're targeting that level of player and we're bringing in 3-4 of them, then obviously that you expect that to be a very good squad. And yes, I think right now you don't necessarily have to be, say, the fourth best team in the league to finish fourth, because there is a lot going on with Europe, with injuries, with people focusing. So, for instance, some clubs might focus a little bit more on the Champions League now because they've, like Liverpool, for instance, have won it. So priorities come into it, injuries come into it. So, as I say, you don't necessarily look at Forest as a prime example. Forest was sitting third. Everybody said that they would guarantee Champions League. I said that they would not make Champions League, that everything would fall away, and it ended up happening. But they weren't the third best team in the league. Do you know what I mean? It's just sometimes circumstantial. So if he was to get fourth, Frank, then I think it would be an unbelievable season.
And I think, as you said, because of the players we're being linked with and because of the transfer moves that we're looking to do and the way that it's all, there seems to be some sort of change within the club now. Like there's that something different. And I mean, we wouldn't just go out and spend 60 million on a Kudos and then the next day 60 million on a Morgan Gibbs White. That's not how Spurs normally do things. So the fact that we're seeing glimpses of that, and then we're being linked with a lot more players, and there's a lot more serious talks, it seems, being reported with Spurs with players. It's quite easy to let your brain run away, and you start getting all these hopes and dreams about it.
100%, mate. You won't be the only one. You won't be the only one.
It's more of a hope and dream. So yeah, for me, top hot take would be Spurs finishing in the top 4 and maybe even winning the FA Cup.
Well, moving on to the final question. So, expectations for this season. So, we'll start. Obviously, we've got the Super Cup coming up against PSG. Now, they were at the end of the season by far and away the best team in the league, the best team in the world, probably. However, at the World Club Cup, they got absolutely annihilated in the final by Chelsea. So the fear of PSG, I think, is dampened ever so slightly in the fan base. However, we'll go through each competition and you can kind of give your opinions on how you think they'll do. Now, obviously, a lot of this is caveated by not in this particular cup, but in the other cups is who we draw. You could end up getting City in the first round. You could end up getting a League Two team, whatever. But let's just say what your expectations are for the Super Cup.
Not to be embarrassed, I think PSG are going to want to come out with a vengeance. They're going to want to prove to everyone that they're not the team that got beat in the Club World Cup final. They're better than that. So I think we lose, but I just hope we don't get embarrassed. I hope that we stick to what we're going to do. We play the way we play. Everyone's focused on the ball, ready to go, and that's that. So I probably think we lose like 3-1 or something. But just hope that we do ourselves proud and we don't just roll over and let them just go 4-0 up at half time and it's sort of game over by them. Yeah.
So then obviously you've got the Carling Cup for me, the Carabao Cup. For me now, that's going to almost be like a youth team kind of feel to it. I've been saying for a little while that obviously any cup that we've been out of, we've gone out of over the last few years, it's always been a case of like straight on the manager's back because it probably made changes. This is a cup we could have won. We haven't won anything in so long. However, I think this year, if we was to field our youth team in these cups, when you add on the Champions League, the extra games, and everything else, I don't feel like the fan base will be as annoyed if we played these youth players. So your Vuskovics, your Moores, your Greys, that sort of thing. So for me, I'm not expecting much, especially in the Carabao Cup. But what would be your hopes? As you kind of mentioned, hopefully winning a trophy. Is the Carabao or FA Cup realistic? Or
I think so. I think it's a good chance to use the full squad that we have as well. So if there are players that haven't had a lot of minutes because players are just outperforming, they just can't be dropped. If we do get some of the lower league teams in the Carabao Cup, it'll be probably the same for the first few rounds in the FA Cup as well. It'll be good to give the players 90 minutes in their legs, get them some game time, allow them all to show the boss that they can impress, that they can play, although maybe against a lower league team, but still, you still need to turn up and beat the team in front of you. So I think we'll challenge quite heavily in the Carabao Cup. I think we can progress on quarterfinals, semi-finals, if and even if make the final. It will depend though on, as you say, as our run and who we get.
And then obviously your hot take, but was very much a dreamer's world, which we've already kind of said. Expectations in the Premier League. Where do you expect? And when I say expectations, it's more like where's acceptable. So, for instance, if we said that Frank finished, say, top 6, then you probably say that should be a relatively okay season.
Yeah.
If he finished 10th, then you may be sitting there going, well, that's absolutely, we shouldn't be finishing 10th sort of thing. So realistically, what are the expectations where you think that we shouldn't be really finishing any lower than X or whatever?
Yeah. So for me, I think no lower than 8th for me personally. I think with how the other teams within the top 4, 5, 6 are actually strengthening, they've already got strong teams, maybe just not performing how they should have. I think we're going to need to be over and above what we have to be to get into the top 4. So for me, top 8 is realistic in my eyes, maybe not in every Spurs fan's eyes. Obviously, I want us to be in the top 4, challenging for things. But I think for this season, if we finish 8th or above, again, and maybe don't get sort of outplayed in so many games, but make sure that if we do lose, and if it is we do get beat, maybe a 2-1 or whatever, that we still actually show up and we play. We don't just bow over and accept that we got beat. So for me, more performance-wise, I'd like to see better performances, but top 8, 100%.
And then last but not least, obviously, Europa League final, you win that, puts you into the Champions League reckoning. Slightly different, obviously, setup in years gone by in terms of it goes to a league table, then the top selection go through, the mid selection kind of go into a playoff, and then the bottom section, obviously, they go out of the competition. As we've mentioned already, Frank's European experience is fairly limited. How do you expect him to get on in Europe? And as I say, is that group stages? Sorry, the league table. Do you expect us to progress immediately? Are we going to be in that middle sort of bunch? Where do you expect it?
Again, you're relying on the luck of the draw and sort of where you go and where you play. But I think if we make it out of the league stage, the group stage, I'd be quite happy with that. And then again, just go on and show what we can do and just challenge, fight tooth and nail to get into the next round, because when you do get into the next round, you're not going to be playing anyone. You're going to have the top teams that you're in there for. So yeah, I'd like to see us to get out of the group stage at least as a minimum, and then just be very competitive as much as we can for the rest of the competition.
Yeah, competitive seems to be the kind of word. We've got to compete. We've got to. Frank's mentioned it in press conferences. He's got to be competitive in as much as possible in terms of cups, leagues, and etc. So that seems to be the kind of buzzword going around. So we're going to wrap it up there. That's the 10 questions. That is Chris's Spurs preview for the upcoming season. If you like this video, please drop a like, sub to the channel. We're now on the road to 2,000 subscribers. If you haven't seen us before, go live every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. UK time. Array of guests, array of opinions. Obviously, Spurs, there's always different things to discuss. And yeah, so thank you very much, Chris, for coming on. First person, as I said, there will be other people coming shortly. Probably going to have 2, maybe 3 of these a week. And as I said, episode by episode, it will change, because hopefully we'll be making transfers. Potentially we'll be getting rid of people. So let's see how we get on. Thank you very much for following and liking, and the support we've seen on the channel is absolutely incredible. So thank you very much. And the last thing from me, come on, you Spurs.